what I'm saying? Pest and nuisance come. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you turn the light on and then all types of bugs start coming towards the light. You're like, damn, I ain't want no flies, I ain't want no mouse. Mouse will try eating the wolf. You know what I mean? You gotta understand when you turn on the light that you're more than likely going to have to deal with those who are on a darker level. You know what I'm saying? Now everything is exposed. Especially if you got the, what they call it, the black light, where you can see everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you turn on the light, a lot of times people tend to run away from that. Because now it's talking about self-reflection. You know? So yeah, man. I'm just saying that that's the issue. You know?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one though. That book with the Seminole.
Yeah.
Because he was straight saying like, I'm dark, but I'm not black. Forget all that BS.
Fact. Yeah, that's what skin is dark but not black.
Yeah, that's
right. So that's why I'm saying when you look at the images that they whitewash, I don't know if it might be either Charles Bird King or what's my man's name? Man, I can't. Oh, George Catlin. Yeah. Either Charles Bird King or George Catlin. When you look at the series of paintings that they did on the Aboriginal people of America, bruh, they look just like us. And some of them are, you know, of a European, and this is the 1800s. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But, yeah, so you know, he's showing them like this. And the only one I was like, I seen before, I'm like, nah, man. Like, Osceola, how they showed him in the painting looking like a European. I'm like, nah, it's no way. It's no way. There's no way that's a European. So when I looked at that text, and it said that's Osceola, and he's describing himself as a dark-skinned person, not black. You feel me? I'm like, man, look, the paint show you something different, but I knew already that the definition of American is one of the various complexionated. So, you know, when I seen I'm trying to pass him off as an Aboriginal, I'm like, nah, something is up with that, like super up with that. Facts though, but yeah, man.
That was like what the moral was saying. That there's so many different complexions. You know how many names for people we would have to have if we said we're gonna call our people by colors? Because they're not gonna generalize if they say somebody's a color. Like they're gonna have a color, and then that individual, somebody who's 1% lighter, they're gonna have a different color than that person who kind of looks like them already. Crazy. You say, no way, it doesn't even make sense to play the color game. Just know that everybody's morals. You know, right? Because even though he said I'm an Indian, he still went and said Seminole, which, you know, lets you know he knows there's a difference. Or he caught himself in something. You know what I mean? You call yourself black by accident.
Hold on. This goes back to another lesson, you know what I mean? And why it's a dualistic world, going back to what we were saying about being in different dimensions. Because what Noble Drew Ali said, he said, truth, or at least this was one of the lessons in the Circle 7. Let me say that. One of the lessons in the Circle 7, Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, was that truth and falsehood are strangely mixed. Like, not just mixed, but strangely mixed. Like, damn. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh. Because not only is he rebuking the black brand as an aboriginal being to this world? What if he didn't say Indian? What if he said Asiatic and they just said Indian? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if that was the case? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know, but you know, it's like he used the language in the same way Noble Ali did. Facts indeed, bro. The same way Noble Ali did. He said, "I'll blacken him with a wolf or smell of his bones and blood and all of this." And I'm like, damn, that sounds violent, but it sounds like death. And then I'm like, Noble Ali said, black according to science means death. He's saying, I'm going to blacken him. I'm like, oh, this is ill. And he's saying, I'm not black. You know what I mean? That was basically, he declared his nationality or his tribe at least.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's a template.
Yeah, he literally denounced that. You know, he's like, hell no.
Yeah.
It's like, hell no. You're not putting me on that.
Because, facts though, because you can look at some of those paintings, from Charles Burt King and George Carlin, and they show like the original people who they call Seminoles. Some people will look at that and be like, oh, Seminoles was black people. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the Seminoles is like, hell no, I ain't black. You feel me? I'm a Seminole.
Right.
Miss me with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm telling you, this is the result if that's what's going down. You feel me? Like, that was their position. So miss us with the Aboriginal people of Florida was quote unquote black. These was people, Seminoles, those Asiatics of America, of Moorish descent that Noble Ali identified in the Circle 7, right? Was openly denouncing being black.
Mm-hmm.
Like, facts indeed. Like I said, somebody's report card was in that book. Yeah. The hardback book. Like, it was a textbook in school at one time, bro.
Yeah.
And today, they got tablets now. The youth they learning on tablets, bro. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. In modern library. I don't even know if they got highlighters in certain schools no more.
Probably
you know what I mean? So it's like, yo.
Probably not. Only the office. Yeah, that still has me messed up that he said it like that.
Yeah.
The white man shall not make me black. Forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, it just echoes why Noble Ali would say what he said. You know?
Yeah.
That you're not black. Because look at these examples. Like how many more people were thinking like this?
Right.
How many people were really on it like this? Remember, and they didn't go to temple to learn that either.
Facts.
They didn't go to temple to learn that they're not black.
Word. For them, they needed the 1900 temples was established. Mm-hmm. He was on this in the 1800s. Mind you, he passed like 1838. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was on this back then. And the timeline adds up because Noble Ali said what? The Asiatics, this is why because they followed after the idol gods of Europe. Again, here we go on the winter solstice. And there's still some people today with brown skin and a pale skin European Jesus on the wall thinking they about to celebrate Christmas. Feel me? While on the other hand, some of us know is a story of the sun in the celestial vibration. That's the true celebration. But Noble Drew Ali said that's exactly why the Moors lost their nationality in 1774.
Yep.
It's because they were straying after the idol gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing, bro. Like, that's deep.
Yeah.
Because you worshiping a false god, you lost your damn nationality. Like, yo, that's deep. So when you say this is divine and national, yo, that's hardcore, bro, because that's the truth.
Yep.
That's the truth, bro. That is the truth. Facts indeed, that's the truth. So, you know, we give honors to, you know, the universe and the creations, but man, it's like, I remember my mom used to always read from this book, Secret Teachings of Jesus. And she was talking about how the creation made copies of the realm or the real. And I look at that now and I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? I get it now because you got people who think they got light, but their worshipful master is a man. Then you got people who think they worshipful master is a poster. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, all of these stories are copies of the reverence that's supposed to be given to the true Son of God or the Son of Allah, which is noblest image of Allah, the S-U-N, the soul, S-O-L, the solar system. You know what I mean? But copies of that was made. And then copies of that was made. And now it's like, you know, people was worshiping fat belly Buddhas. Not even the young fly Buddha with the cone head. Like, just anything is going to a passive for, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything. So it's like, yo, you know, the idolatry went super deep. It went in, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Speaking of the Buddha, it's the same exact story of the sun, which is, again, why Noble Drew Ali was genius with that when he said we honor all true and divine prophets, because according to J.A. Rogers, Sex and Race, Volume 1, the red cover book, it goes in on how Buddha, well, he used the language black, you know what I mean? But you gotta, with certain scholars, like, you just gotta refine it, take it how they give it, right? But this is what he said, you know, but all through the book, he's talking about Moors. It's like a repetitive thing. You know what I mean? It's mad choosing that for Moors. You know, so you got to take the balance, the letter scale, right scale. You know what I mean? The transition time. And he was saying how the Buddha is the same exact story as Jesus, but just March 21st is his born day. Yeah. So again, we know these are the sacred times that we're talking about. Portals open, you know what I mean? This is where you can get your thing going, momentum coming up, you know, and manifest what you need to for the betterment of your life. You know? So yeah, bro, my father just wanted to add that on. Excuse me, maybe I'm sure you were quick.
You would more. You straight. What's something I was looking for? Oh yeah, we're talking about chasing after the gods of Europe. I just wanted to
say that again.
We're talking about the chasing after the gods of Europe, straying after the gods of Europe, and
yeah.
And
they knew nothing.
Yeah, and I wanted to also look at the fact that you said straying. You weren't following. You weren't being led by those.
Right.
You were straying after them.
Damn, son.
You have your own stuff that you can be dealing with, but you're choosing to stray after those ones. Right? More lives matter. It seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Shot in the back, running or choked out to death on the corners. Mistake to stage before his sidearm, says the coroner. To the yellow journalist that won awards for writing facts. For World Wide Web press stories, always calling them black. Civil rights violated, here comes C1-7. And CIA and FBI agent, brethren felons with what Big Brother once heard. Most Moors are nerds and study more than if I'm on the road, no biting curbs. Puppets of nooses are fighting for survival. Making Moors martyrs won't happen, calling us captain rival. Inquisitionists, governors, and secretaries of state got stateless on their tables like ribeye steak with no care, blood dripping. They eat blacks rare. Foreigners wearing 6-point badges, pretending they're heirs to the vastness of state medieval Axa. Stainless blood flow past a horse's brow, I swear it's agua. Demons thirst quench, stealing pioneers and organs. Psychiatry, death industry, to start selling black orphans and half-closed coffins. Cause legs are missing, killing stateless people, cancer won't even see remission. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
System, what system? Not gonna make myself no victim. Run down and kick them off, educate oneself and flip them. All of the titles or nationality strips them. Must grip reality in order to really grip them in this third dimensional illusion. Organized chaos, confusion, stealing your attention. Mental intrusion, universal laws, declaration of the ancients. I self-law and master from the rooftops to the basements. Root deep to the spaceship, ever since all creations. Celestial foundations, ocean floor to the ranges, to the mountain tip, to the cosmic infinite. Basically, we are way above the shit. In other words, get in tune with spirit. Take a breath and accept mental polarity, gender, rhythm, correspondence, vibration, cause and effect.
More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
More lives matter cause I sing it no sound of. It gets defected when rejected for your last flaw. Get my perspective one directed to replay. All the moves that one replay till they want to cast off. Worry them, on to the next one. Enough of them are gunning down. Dudes them are cast straws. Can't believe I copy that. Can't believe I Taj Frost, Trayvon, Michael Brown died for us to find cars. The afterlife visited the class wrong. Who they really want to see with the crown on high and the guards on free? I am free and you know business but your land or your country to see your inalienable rights. The insatiable delight of knowing thyself and bringing all injustice to light. What the fight is your play, make your sight for the bright. I'm the mic in the night. Foresight for you to realize that, huh?
Black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Black lives don't matter. No. Peace, Moors. Peace and love to everybody worldwide who may be listening. I am Mizraim Aleph L. You're tuned into MHHS Eyes Wide Open Sons of Allah for May 2020 Gregorian calendar. I am here with my brethren Cujo, Adwo L. Peace, Noble.
Islam more. Peace and love to all the Moors worldwide. What's going on?
All is well, man. You know, I just wanted to make a note. I love the song Moors Lives Matter. And I just noticed as you was playing the video simultaneously that there was a scene in there where y'all was on Bay Street.
Yeah.
That was fly.
Yeah.
I just caught that. I just caught that out of all the time.
Islam.
I watched it, bro. I just caught that. That was fly, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Shout out to y'all for putting that classic track together.
Islam.
As I was saying, man, I don't think it's a more fitting time than now where that mantra needs to be, you know, really in the brain.
Well, that's the truth. More lives matter more now than any time ever.
That's a fact, bro.
Yeah, more lives definitely matter.
You know? Yeah. So yeah, man. So we here again, once again, you know, great day. We enter in Gemini season.
Yeah.
You know, yes, sir. Gemini season. From my studies, you know, Gemini rules the quote unquote United States, bro. Because it's a duality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And everything that these people do is duplicity. It definitely is. The president of that corporation, Donald Trump or Teflon Don, you know what I'm saying, is a Gemini as well. So we can see what's happening with these so-called positions of power. It's interesting. You know, it's very interesting. So I see the duplistic nature, even down to, you know, how they spell people's names in all caps versus the, you know, proper grammatical spelling, you know, as everything is duplistic. You know, you say a word like person, it has two meanings. You got natural person and artificial person. Like everything is duplistic when it comes to the so-called United States, the corporation, though. You know what I'm saying, bro? Because we know that the United States is not actually America. It just operates within America, you know, which is north, south, and central. So these are some interesting times, I would say. You know, my uncle, I was speaking with my uncle a couple of weeks ago, at least 2 weeks ago, and he said, Miz, I feel like something is going to happen on 5/20/2020. This is what he said. I feel like something is going to happen on 5/20/2020. And I told him the same thing I just said. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised because, you know, that's Gemini season. We all know that that constellation governs the so-called United States. You know what I mean? On an esoteric level. And you can find that right in the light of Egypt. So I checked that was yesterday, and I checked the news feed, and I was like, damn, man, like, this is crazy. Same thing that happened down in New Orleans right after Katrina happened in Detroit, you know, with the levees breaking. Duality, right? So those are two things that have a common thread of, you know, of happening. So a dam broke, and in the midst of this so-called pandemic, it was like Michigan was the worst response in the midst of all of this. The way they acted, the way that European governor lady was acting, it was all like really, it was extreme. So I hate to say like, oh, it had to happen or whatever. I know there's many innocent people who just was in the way of what happened, the dam breaching and them now being displaced, you know? So it's like, how do you evacuate people in the midst of a pandemic, allegedly, or whatever it may be? Where are they supposed to go now, you know? And I see some of these so-called states is trying to reopen and opening back up. For me, it's just a little too soon. I'm not, Memorial Day weekend, it's not my good luck weekend. It's just not. So I ain't going nowhere anyway. I don't want to be at the shore. I don't want to be in the way of no large crowds at the moment. You know, I think it's a guinea pig operation, how they're trying to open up the Jersey Shore. They got the governor of Pennsylvania, you know, like trying to discourage, you know, people from going to so-called Jersey Shore. Now, just another fact that just popped in my news feed today, the people are now suing the governor of New Jersey. on the fact of the shutdown plan, right? Now, something I just found out today, I don't know if you knew this, I didn't know this. I heard it in their language often, but I never knew what it meant. So they said that the GOP sued the governor of the state of New Jersey. So I'm like, I hear this GOP thing all the time. I never really looked into it though. You heard of them referring to politics of the GOP and all of that before?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I never even considered what it is.
Yeah, facts. Me either. So when I heard this today, I'm like, yo, what does GOP stand for? So I look it up, and GOP is a code word for the Republican Party, but it actually means the Grand Old Party. GOP, Grand Old Party. And it's like, well, from a constitutional perspective, I can understand why they codified that as that, because before there was a so-called democracy, the Constitution established a Republican form of government.
Right.
And that's the lawful form of government. So, yeah, for them to refer to it like that in acronyms, I'm like, oh, okay, they trying to be slick, the Grand Old Party. You know what I'm saying? So they sued the state of New Jersey governor because they're being discriminatory on who could reopen, who can't, and all of these things. And that's just a revelation I had today. But in the midst of all of this, I'm like, bro, like our survival skills should be maximized. You know what I mean? They really should be maximized. We need all the knowledge we can have on how to survive with or without them, right? And one of my elders a while ago brought to my attention, he was talking about, the handbook for the Boy Scouts. Now, I listen, I know it sounds crazy, especially to our people. Like, that was not something that was heavily influenced through our communities to join. Like, the Boy Scouts, you know what I'm saying? But I was reading, because I don't reject any knowledge. I'll read whatever I can and get the information that's applicable from it, right? So I was reading the handbook of the Boy Scouts, and this was put out in 1911. You know what I'm saying? 2 years before Noble Drew Ali established the Moore Science Temple of America. And I gotta say, from what I'm reading in there, it's definitely more science. And I love the way that it's organized. Like, there's certain things you have to do before you could get recognized as being anything. You know what I mean? It teaches structure. I personally believe that our youth needs to know these types of things. You know what I mean? I really do, because there's just certain things. Like, I just want to quote from this, right? Hold on, let me pull this up real quick, bro. I'm sorry, I meant to have this already ready to reference, right? But, in a time like this where things are collapsing, stores are, questionable, and all of these things, it's certain things that we should know. And what I realized, remember, it's like this, right? I just want to put this in perspective, because this is Sons of Allah, right? So Sons of Allah, no matter how old we get, we're still sons. So when I'm speaking on this knowledge of what's in this Boy Scout handbook, it's relative still to sons. Not that sisters are dismissed, because this is survival knowledge. And we know a lot of sisters did not put their sons through Boy Scouts because they was doing some weird things. I know y'all seen the commercial of, if anybody has been touched while, in the Boy Scouts, they can get settlement payments. So the instructors was into some weird things with little boys. That's why I always say, you know what I mean? For those who talk about they want to come around and teach the youth, these people should be thoroughly examined. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is their actual attraction to the youth? We know our youth needs knowledge, wisdom, understanding. But why are you, as a grown-ass man, so attractive? Where's your children at? You know what I'm saying? Do you got nieces and nephews that you be teaching, that you want to teach the youth of the nation? Like, are they an example, first and foremost? Like, what's on the profile of you? Like, where's your youth at? Even if you don't have no children, that's not judging you as a man. I'm just saying that, why do these adult men want to be around little boys? That is a fair question to ask. It really is. It really, really is. And it doesn't mean that all of the upstanding, upright brothers who want to give the game to the youth are like that. That's not the case. But sometimes you got to question, really, what are these brothers' motives for wanting to be around the youth? What type of knowledge are you trying to give them? Survival skills, right? I would hope, you know what I'm saying? But I'm only saying that because, you know, when I was reading this Boy Scout thing, I'm like, oh shit, this is why the Europeans have had a one-up. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, whereas we think, you know, busting a gun and doing all types of, you know, lower self things makes us real brothers. You know the word that I would say, but you know how it is. The examples are different. And I'm saying from what I'm reading, this is actually the knowledge that our youth needs to have. You know what I'm saying? And it needs to be imparted to them from those with pure intentions. You know what I'm saying? I really think that like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know, somebody who doesn't have no youth amongst themselves, I swear I'm not trying to be judgmental. If their whole thing is, I want to teach the youth, you just came out of nowhere and you all of a sudden want to be around the babies, you know what I'm saying? You need to be examined. You need to be proven to be somewhat qualified, because I'm saying that in reference to the Boy Scout thing and how it's been found out that they was doing them little boys dirty. You know what I'm saying? In the name of teaching them survival skills. But I'm just speaking from a biased, impartial reference. You know, this is a 1911. It was a book that was put out in 1911 for these young men that was a part of the Boy Scouts. Now, I'll say this. I have, and I sent this to you. It's a book from 1911 for the Boy Scouts. And then there's a book from 1922 for the Girl Scouts. So I was reading the preface. I didn't go in because I have a niece, and I'm like, you know, one day she's going to grow up and we're going to have certain conversations. And, you know, I wonder, like, what type of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding would I be able to share with her, you know, when she reaches a certain age of development and maturity and things of that nature. So I'm like, okay, let me look at this. This might be some wisdom I could pass off for her survival skills. You know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And when I was reading the preface of even the Girl Scouts joint, it was talking about how, even though they say these things was established in London, right, that it really was coming from observing the Moors in South Africa. This was their culture. You know what I'm saying? They didn't make this Boy Scout thing up like, you know, that oh, we're going to do this just because, like, no, the original thing was actually observing. They actually observed true and living Moors, what some people know as Zulus in South Africa, and was like, yo, their culture is lit. We need to galvanize our young men. So when I'm speaking on this Boy Scout thing, I'm not speaking on it from a European perspective at all. I'm just saying this is the knowledge they have, and they're giving to the youth that they have, and it actually still came from Moors. So, in this 1911 manual, it and this is what I respect about it, is that even for the youth, right, it's like before they can claim or be recognized for being anything, they have to actually do things. Like, they have to earn their button. They have to earn their stripes, literally. So, like, take something like cooking, right? This is from 1911. Okay, so they get badges, right? It's crazy. So let's say they wanted, if somebody was, and all of this is more science. It really is. It says, so they got badges. Like you can get a badge, a scout badge for being an athlete. You can get a scout badge for being a carpenter. You could get a scout badge for knowing archery. You could get a scout badge for civics. You could get a scout badge for blacksmithing. All of these things they recognize you as, and you get a certain button. Like you know how like the buttons in the Moore Science Temple of America, you could get the MA joint with the crescent moon and star on it. Like how they would do it in the Boy Scouts is you would have to actually have shown and proved that you was even worthy to get that badge, right? You can, I mean, it's yours if you're really about that life. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is, I like the aspect of you don't just get this; you have to show and prove that you earned it. So, like something like cooking, to get a scout badge in cooking, it's a merit badge. Excuse me, a merit, because everything is based on merit, right? And this is more science. This definitely is more science. So it says to obtain a merit badge for cooking, a scout must, one, prove his ability to build a fireplace out of stone or sod or logs. I'm gonna stop right there. Before you remember this is 1911, right? 1911 AD. Like before you can even talk about being a cook, you had to first know how to build a fireplace, bro. You understand? Out of stone or sod or logs. That's how it was. You understand? And it's like, you know what I mean? Like anybody today could walk in the kitchen and throw some eggs on the stove, but that don't really make you like really qualified to call yourself a cook on a survival level. You understand? Like, what if the gas is cut off? How can you make a fireplace? Can you build a fireplace out of stone or logs or sod? See, now we're talking the difference between knowing how to cook and knowing how to survive. Back to how to eat to live, in a sense, right? And I'm just saying that I appreciate the merit of you having to actually be able to put the whole material together before you can be acknowledged as such. If you want to say that you are a cook, if you want to say that or get recognized for being into civics. Now, with the civics joint, I'm going to read all of this real quick. It says, to obtain a merit badge for civics, a scout must, one, state the principal citizenship requirements of an elector in his state. Two, know the principal features of the naturalization laws of the United States. Remember, Moore's been talking about this over the past 10 years about what is nationalization versus naturalization, because naturalization is for foreigners. You understand what I'm saying? So for them to even get a merit badge for civics, these are things they have to know. So they have to know the principal features of the naturalization laws of the United States. Number three, know how president, vice president, senators, and congressmen of the United States are elected in their terms of office. Number four, now mind you, this is all just for a civic badge of merit, on merit. You know what I'm saying? Number four, they must know the number of judges of the Supreme Court of the United States, how appointed, and their term of office. Number five, they must know the various administrative departments of government as represented in the president's cabinet. Number six, they must know how the governor, lieutenant governor, senators, representatives, or assemblymen of his state are elected in their terms of office. Number seven, they must know whether the judges of the principal courts in his state are appointed or elected and the length of their terms. Number eight, they must know how the principal officers in his town or city are elected, and for what terms. Number 9, they must know the duties of the various city departments, such as fire, police, board of health, etc. Number 10, they must draw a map of the town or city in which he lives, giving location of the principal public buildings and points of special interest. Number 11, watch this. It says, this is all just for a civic badge. Just for a civic badge on merit. Number 11, he must give satisfactory evidence that he is familiar with the provisions and history of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. If you don't know these things, you can't even say you in the civic anything, right? So I'm looking at this when it says, to get this merit badge for civics, they have to know the provisions and history of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. This is what Moore's been saying for the longest time.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and I'm like, yo, this is more science. This is more science. Like straight up, this is more science. Now that's just a badge for civics. They got ones for chemistry, for carpentry, camping, business, bugling, blacksmithing, bee farming, you know what I'm saying? Aviation, automobiling, all of these things. You know what I'm saying?
Now, another thing too is that when we go check, like for the whole idea of Boy Scouts and going to that and building that atmosphere of camaraderie and all that stuff is all what the Europeans get, why they go to Ivy League school and join whatever and end up having a certain standard. It's no different than people who are in I think it was Brother Omar was talking about it, that in Japan they're trained for war from school. Like they're trained from school. They're not finishing school and then go to the army to go learn about war and survival and whatever. You know what I mean? They're learning that as they grow in age. So by the time they get to the age of whatever, if they do go to the military or whatever, they're ruthless. They're taking and again, this whole concept of them taking our sciences, using our stuff, ruling the world with it, and then we're complaining about where's our stuff and people stole our stuff and whatever, when all we have to do is apply what it is that we know they stole. It's not like we don't know what they took. It's not like they took something and we're oblivious to what they got and how they're using it. We already know everything that they got. We know everything that they have came from us. So when we go through stuff like this, like, so when I was showing the picture up earlier of when I was in Boy Scouts, and over there, Boy Scouts lead you to cadets, then cadets lead you to the military, because that's the graduation you have to go through as a young man. That's your rites of passage. You know what I mean? You go through the Boy Scouts, then you go through the cadets. You know what I mean? And cadets, you learn about your shiny shoes and your crease in your pants and all that. You know, you go do your little swirl the gun around and whatever for the little show that they like to do. But really, it's training to get you ready to go join the military, so you can defend your nation. Right. You know, it's a recreation, whatever, for our people or people who don't get
what they're doing when they say they're going to put their children in Boy Scouts. That's not just so when they go to the cabin, they could make wood fires and stuff like that. That's not what they're doing that for. This is part of their rites of passage. Europeans outside of the realm of where they are quote unquote home. You better know how to make some fire if you're not home or whatever. You better know how to live out in these woods. You remember, this is 1911 they're talking about. 1911 they're talking about this. 1911, you know, they were probably doing a little something before, but it's official when you have the manual. When you have the manual, it's official, right? First aid wasn't official until they started doing first aid and showing everybody how to stop people from choking and whatever. Other than that, first aid was just some ambulance, whatever. There wasn't some you know, lifeguards and whatever. No, now everybody, now that's a mandatory thing. You might get a job just because you know first aid. When somebody doesn't, you know what I mean? You know. So these little children, I would look at it like children's sororities, right? Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and all this. It was young people's training for real shit, right? Young.
Hold up, Cujo. Let's put it back. I don't want to cut your wisdom.
Go ahead, more. Go ahead.
But let's put it back in its time frame. Let's put it back in its time frame. 1911.
Yeah.
You got to be 12. Remember, this is the zodiac science. You had to be 12 years old to even be able to get into the Boy Scouts, right? In 1911, we're talking about. Now, they said that they got this from observing South Africans, bro. Now, let me ask you, in the panel, in 1911, do you think a 12-year-old son was a boy? Or he was about to be initiated into manhood at 13?
Right.
1911 we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So it's like, is it for quote unquote young boys, or was these young boys in 1911, remind you, about to be considered adults? Remind you, even in law, a young woman can be considered an adult at 16. Remember, they pushing the age limits up. That's considering adulthood now. I remember when I was coming up, you had to be 18 to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Then they pushed it to 19. Now they just pushed it to 21. So like, it's like when we start defining, you know, what age is actual adulthood, it's like a lot of that depends on early education, bro. Real talk, because they wasn't the 12-year-old in 1911 was way more advanced than the 21-year-old in 2020.
Oh yeah,
bro.
most definite.
That's a
most
fact.
definite. Yep. I can even speak for just with our generation, that when we were, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11, we had more sense than these people today, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Facts.
You know what I mean? You know?
Right. Yeah. And that's real talk. You know what I mean? So yeah, even shout out to Sunlight Bay. You had teenage pharaohs and whatnot, and so-called kings and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the other thing,
like, at the same time. Say that. My fault, more. Go ahead.
No, one other thing. When you were talking about with the age thing, what we realized out here, this is maybe 2003, 2004, around that area, because there was a big thing here with gun violence and disadvantaged youth and help fund the youth, whatever, and you know what I mean, funnel all this money into youth, this and that or whatever. And then when we go check the thing, youth is 16 to or 13 to 28 or some shit like that. Like, hold on a second. How is it that only in our community, only in the quote unquote minority community, were they playing these games? Where you have dudes, beards and all that stuff, 3-4 children classified as youth. You got 25, 26, 27. Right. This is only in our community. This is not around the world. In the community where the Negroes are at, where the stateless people are at, their youth bracket wasn't in the age of what real youth is. Their youth went into adulthood, which is again part of the psychological warfare that they have our people involved in, where if you're classified as a youth at 28, we have some serious problems coming. If a 28-year-old has in their mind that they're a youth because they live in a certain community or they come from a certain background or whatever like that, that stuff is gonna warp them so bad that it's gonna take them generations to get out of it.
Yes.
So again, going back to this,
it's not to say that they're old. They're still young men.
Yeah.
But they ain't young. You feel me? Like, you can shoot a bow and arrow at 13, bro.
Yeah.
You can hunt if you need to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's just real facts, bro. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. But yo, I wanted to also share this from Astronomy in this manual. I don't know if you can the digital page is 81. If you could put, I know you got it on the screen.
Oh, on the
digital page.
Oh, in the same Boy Scouts?
Yeah.
All right, got you.
Got on your screen right now.
Right, cool.
Yeah, the digital page is 81. But it goes into astronomy, and I find it interesting, like, for them to get a merit badge for astronomy. Excuse me. They say a scout must have a general knowledge of the nature and movements of stars, and then they must be able to point out and name 6 principal constellations. Now, before we even go on, this is 1911, bro. You know what I'm saying? And to even be considered to have a merit badge, you know, people claim, but it's no merit to their claim.
Right.
So for them to have a merit badge, they would have, for astronomy, you would have to be able to look to the heavens and point out and name 6 principal constellations. Yeah. Right? Now, this is before we had the apps on our phone where we could just point our phone to the sky and move around in 360 degrees and it'll read every constellation in the sky for you, right?
Right.
This was before that. They had to be able to do this with no technology, no smartphone, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is more science, bro. That's my point for the youth. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Sons of Allah, Boy Scouts, whatever, I'm just saying, forget that. This is the science of what you need to know and be able to do. Not just what you know, what are you able to do? So are you able to right now point out and name 6 principal constellations just off your eyesight? I know I'm not going to front. You know what I'm saying? I know the constellations. I know the zodiac constellations. But take me out to the mountaintop and ask me to name without a phone right now 6 principal constellations, I will fail that test miserably.
No, you know, just as you said that too.
But I know that.
You know what this remind me of? This remind me of that test they used to show back in the day on the site, the grade 8 test or whatever.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah. That's what this remind me of. just as you're going through this, and they're asking these little things here that you're sitting there like, damn, I actually don't know that shit. You know what I mean? And this is some Boy Scout stuff, Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
And they know this. And think about all the people who you know or heard that, oh yeah, they'd come to your door and, oh yeah, Girl Scout cookies and Boy Scout cookies and all this type of stuff. Oh yeah, you know, you might buy a box or whatever. But when you really check what they're doing and how far we are away from it, lets us know how we got mad work to do. And then it gives credence to fruits of Islam and all this, right?
Yes.
Which is really the Mufti force, and it's the same idea.
That's a fact.
Teach these young people how they can not only govern themselves, but govern themselves in society, govern themselves in nature, govern themselves in the middle of the ocean, govern themselves, you know, within their body, govern themselves between their temples, govern themselves in every way that you can govern yourself. And one of the key aspects to that, that's why, again, you know, when we look at these type of things, you know, yeah, you have that element of, you know, the camp master and you know, you might have the occasional one that does crazy stuff, but the lessons learned at these type of things prepare young people, especially men, especially boys, to being responsible men. Like, these things are things that you know, sort of groom you. You know what I mean? Like, I remember even from doing cadets, from doing Boy Scouts, it was easier later on when we had to go do trapping. So we would have to go set crab traps and mongoose traps and you know what I mean, all these things that, you know, this piece of bamboo, bent to bamboo, stick it in the hole, tie a string, and you think that that's just some whatever, but all these things were training that, you know, you're gonna go pick up your 10 traps, you got 2-3 crabs each trap, you're eating for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? You might even sell some of those. And that's just from getting up 5 in the morning, put on your boots, go out there, set your traps, because you already know it's gonna be traps going off crazy, just because you know how. And again, the whole idea of them having that was for them to teach themselves and their heirs how to survive as a colonist. Because you're gonna have to build a cabin. You're gonna have to, you know what I mean, cut some wood, make a fire. You're gonna have to put your, you know, face in the stream to get a drink. You ain't got no bottle and all that type of stuff. Certain things, it just had to be natural for them. That even after it got to a level of you know, them being here and having certain things, it became a standard that everybody goes to this. This is just something that you go to as a young person that's not from here. This is just a thing that they do, right? And
but remind you, let's keep it in perspective too, that they got this knowledge by observing South Africans.
Yeah.
This is how they was getting down in their own home, so-called Zulus. So the knowledge is beyond whether you're a colonist or not, in that sense. You know what I mean? But if you're going to take you know, your life on the road, yeah, definitely it would benefit you to know it even more. But this is how the indigenous original people was living even in their own land.
Mm-hmm.
They can point out, look at Araminta Ross, so-called Harriet Tubman. How did she get to the north? By knowing the constellations. So I see that, and I can correlate this directly to my culture, to my people. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, it's like wherever they at, they know how to look to the heaven, identify positions, and say that's the direction. You know what I mean? Before we had GPS, you had to know how to read a map.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, it's just mad different now. Like,
yeah.
Yo, it's crazy.
Even that level too.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the thing with the map, I remember when the whole map app and phone stuff came out, and there was an elder who he used to always be on, man, I'm not giving up my map. I'm not giving up my map. I can't trust that thing. I don't know where that's gonna lead me to. That thing will send me out somewhere to get murdered by some hatchet wielding people. Let me just stick with my map, because I know with the map, I know where it's going. I'm not relying to be told where to go. You know, and again, like these things that have become, you know, like a lost art. You know what I mean? Just like you're saying, use the app for the constellations or the compass or whatever. All these things used to be things that were ingrained in us, things that were part of our nature. They weren't foreign things to us. Like some of these things were things that we did just naturally, just being the people who are originally connected to the land. Certain aspects didn't leave us. When they say we lost this and we lost that during subjugation or slavery or whatever, a lot of these things were still in us. You bring it up all the time. How did slaves know to follow the North Star if they lost all their culture or whatever? They had to know something. If they're gonna say, yeah, let's follow the North Star, obviously they had some type of astrological knowledge. And to have any astrological knowledge during that time is that shit is amazing to me. That you know astrology. What kind of a slave were you that you know astrology? And you know it like that, just like the Boy Scouts know. You just look up and you know, oh, there it is right there. Let's go that way. Right? Exactly. It's in the DNA. And these are, you know, things that we gotta get back. You know, even if it's not us, get the children in. You don't have to know.
Exactly.
You don't have to know. But put them children in those Boy Scouts and all that stuff. Go put them in all that stuff, get all that stuff back. Don't even play around that about you're scared of some pedophile camp guy and all that BS. Because guaranteed, if your son or daughter is on what they're on, they wouldn't even attempt any BS with them like that. You wouldn't even go there. Then they can go there and get the information and bring that stuff back or use it for their evolution in this crazy life where you just might have to learn how to make a fire out of wood. This is where it's at right now. Like
how about you might just have to learn? Yeah, remember they know that. Look, the Earth is a beautiful place, bro. You know that they know. You know how to make a bed out of logs and earth. You understand what I'm saying? Like you can make a bed, and it probably will be the softest bed you ever slept on. If you dug up some earth, you knew how to make, you know, a 4-point stand in a bed out of logs, and you cover that with some soft soil, bro. That shit would probably be the softest bed you ever slept on. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things they learn how to do.
Yeah.
from the jump. You know what I mean? They're taught to make beds from wood and earth soil. Now you can find whatever type of cover you want, because I look at it like this: if they got water beds, I'm sure an earth bed probably wouldn't be that uncomfortable. If you can make beds from elements, of course, you know, fire is not a bed you would lay in. But I mean, shit, they got water beds. Now they got air beds. Why don't we think about earth beds? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Why not? You know what I mean? The elements is there for it. So I'm just saying, you know, I wouldn't say necessarily go sleep on the ground or anything like that, but I would say that if anybody is into gardening, you know, you got to first toil the soil. Right. And that soil is soft. It's very soft when you really dig into it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, you know, these are other things that they learn for survival skills. And somebody brought it out. It's like you look at all of these forest fires that happen, you know, especially in Australia. You think it was just animals that was being removed from them habitats by fires? Or you think it was indigenous people still living in their original habitat? You think everybody lost it? I ain't never heard of nobody getting, you know, no transatlantic, you know, slave trade coming from Antarctica, or Australia, from the bottom of the map. I may be missing something, but, you know, there's still indigenous people who live off the land out there. Right. So when the forest fires happened last year, and they say they burnt over 1 million animals, you really think it wasn't original people, melanated like you and I, that lost their home too? Really? Shit. I'm just saying, these are definitely things to think about. So, you know, it's crazy because this is the stuff they learn how to do off of the environment. You know what I'm saying? So I was saying that to say, you know, with them, one of their merit badges for astronomy, as you have on the screen, it says on number 2, they have to be able to point out and name 6 principal constellations, and they have to find the north by means of other stars than the pole star. So, like, what? Because in case of the star being obscured by clouds. So, what if it's a cloudy day and you can't see the North Star, right? Do you think you can still find other stars to find your way north? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about natural law, natural movement, natural remedy, natural planning. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was that cloudy day, you had to get north. Mind you, you know, this is before all the GPS stuff, everything like that. You know what I'm saying? But you had to get north. And just so happens that day, the clouds are blocking the North Star. You should be able to find other stars that will lead you north. Right. Right? And tell the hour of the night by the stars and moon. Can we really right now, we could be honest, because I mean, I'm being honest. I know I can't. Right now, I can't look in the night sky and tell the hour by the stars and the moon alone. I can do that in the daytime off of the sunlight. I'm really good with that. I can look at the sun, especially in the summer, and know exactly what time it is. I can do that. But at night, I can't. At this point, let me not say I can't. At this point, I really don't know how to look at the stars and be able to tell what hour it is by the stars and the moon. That's not something I know how to do. But I'm really good with that based off of the sunlight. You know what I'm saying? So these are just survival skills, man. I think that it would benefit us to know, man, like real talk. You know what I'm saying? And even if because a lot of the Boy Scout thing is is closing out because they're getting hit with them suits and whatnot. But I'm just saying that even if they don't go to the Boy Scouts to learn this, do we as Moors at this point, having this knowledge, have the responsibility to endeavor into it more and actually teach it ourselves? Like to me, this is just me. I know some more science temples of America is full of it right now. But these are things that our youth should or ought be able to go there and learn, in my perspective. But they so busy worshiping Noble Drew Ali and not looking at his message, because I see Noble Drew Ali when I'm reading this. I see it clearly. How? We're talking about a merit badge for astronomy. What did he say in chapter 1? That the stars, the spirit of the mighty Allah, seraphim and cherubim, who rule the stations of the sun, along with the spirit of the mighty Allah that rule the solar stars, are his guide and his victory. Are his guide and protector, and they will lead to victory. How are we going to win if we don't know this basic science? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. These just things I be thinking about. Like, if the prophecy is real, I think that these are certain things we need to know, man. You know what I'm saying? In our communities, I don't see too many people learning this early, or being exposed to this. It's more like during this group, and because remind you for sure, it ain't like I'm saying, oh, we should jack the Boy Scouts information. No. If you read the preface of the Girl Scouts drink, they tell you that it came from observing South Africans, Moors, or Zulu. Shout out to Zulu Kemetic Moors. Real talk. This is where it comes from. So I just feel like, you know what I'm saying? These are things that should be branches of what we're actually teaching the youth in the flesh. You know what I'm saying? Because it requires them to actually do the work to be acknowledged as whatever they're claiming to be. So I can't just come and say I'm an astronomer, but can't point out 6 constellations. You know what I'm saying?
At least
yeah, I know about astronomy, but if this was the test I had to take to be recognized, like, bro, I would fail at this point. You know what I'm saying? like real talk. But I know my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding about it is on point. It's just certain things that I realized, damn, I can't do that right now, just right now. Now that I'm aware of what it takes in certain aspects to be recognized, will I be studying to know how to do that? Absolutely. Give me a year, I'm going to be able, with no phone app, no none of that, I'm going to be able to point out certain constellations. See, me, I'm better when it comes to looking to the heavens. I'm better with picking out the planets. Like, I could pick out about 5 or 6 planetary bodies, especially Venus and Mars. Mars got that red tincture, you know what I'm saying? But a whole constellation, besides Sirius A, B, and C, because they're like red, white, and greenish, and you could tell it'd be kind of hard, you know what I'm saying, to be like, oh, that's that constellation. But the single planetary bodies is easier for me at this point, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, bro. I just kind of figured this is something that would inspire us, especially in these times, to be more in tune with that. You know what I'm saying? That was my thoughts on it. They're exposed to a lot of different things, man, like bee farming, all of these different types of things, So, but to be recognized amongst their own society, they got to be able to do certain things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It ain't just about what you think you know. Yeah.
And another
So
thing too,
like
when
even with
they talk about just to get back to the concept of where they get it, you know what I mean? They were studying the rites of passage of the South Africans. How is it that these young people, or how is it that these people that are in war with us are so diligent in their stuff? How, like, what do they know? What do they know? What do they really know that they're this good at it? No different than when they do guerrilla warfare and then it's the Vietnamese they got to deal with or whatever, Cambodians or whatever. Same thing, rites of passage. You know what I mean? Native American culture. Go out there, go kill a bear, bring the head back. That lets us know you're a man. You know what I mean? And you got to find the bear with the circle around the eye and all this type of stuff. You're out there for weeks. And if you don't come back, they're not even looking at it like, oh, you know, you're just not worthy. You're not mad. You know what I mean? We got the easy stuff. Point out some consolations or whatever. You know? In Kenya, they're telling you, go in the swamp and you got to go pull that 20-foot boa constrictor out. That's your rites of passage. Or you got to swim over this alligator-infested river.
Right.
That's the rites of passage. Do that. And that's not stuff that you have no option. You have to do that. Like, that's how, for generations, we've been testing the children. It's no different than in the islands. I think I talked about this before. In Tobago, when it's time to swim, no swimming class. They take you out in the ocean in a boat and throw you over the side and tell you we'll meet you back at the shore.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you learn to swim.
That's something else they gotta learn. Yeah.
You know
That's something else they gotta learn in the Boy Scouts too.
Yeah.
They gotta learn how to swim, I believe, is for 50 feet or 100 yards. Right? Because a professional swimming pool, I believe, is about 100 yards. Or half 100, like 50 yards maybe. It's not as big as a football field. It's about half the size. But you got to be able to swim. You got to be able to do breaststrokes, backstrokes. And all of this is just survival skills, bro.
Mm-hmm. Merely survival skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, when we look at the dynamics of why do these people need survival skills? Like, why do you need survival skills? You look at the people in South Africa, it's a rites of passage. It's not something that they're acquiring because they don't have it. You know what I mean? When you talk about Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts or whatever, these people are training their children. They're training their children how to survive in the wilderness. Because
that's right.
Everybody else knows this information.
Mm-hmm.
You think when you see those 5 million Chinese soldiers marching at the same time and all that stuff is just because military only? That's not military only. They've been in that since they were 2 years old.
That's right.
That's not there's oh yeah, can I enlist with the army and they could do that? That's not what that is. They've been getting trained ever since they were children. And not only was it them, the other 4 million, they're also getting trained. Same way you are.
Fact.
Because if you have a ding-a-ling, you're going in the army. You're not going to be a basketball player. You're not going to be a soccer player. You're not going to be any of that stuff. Right?
But what's the benefit for the Chinese is that they can do that and take pride because it's for their own nation.
Right.
But we North America denationalized, called Negro, Black, and Colored. When they join that, it's not necessarily for their own nation. Right? It's like you're joining the same people that conquered your people already.
Yeah.
So there's really no pride in that shit. Like, it's, to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could never be proud to do some shit like that for them. Like, personally, I couldn't. But if it was like our own nation's free, well-regulated militia, I'll be proud as hell to be like, yup, you damn right, yup, I'm definitely, yup, all of that shit, just like they are, and they get to go out into certain parts of society, and they get discounts at bars and shit like that. All of that shit, yeah, they be proud as hell to be a part of their colonial institutions and offshoots. We don't have that, bro. Like, we don't.
Yeah.
Don't. You know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy. And, the true, warriors ain't broadcasting that shit like that anyway.
Right.
So, the people you see, like, showing off their firearms and shit like that, like, they ain't really about that life because they wouldn't even want you to know they had it. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't even want you to know. Now, it's a right, absolutely. Well, it's responsibilities that come with the right. Well-regulated. You know what I'm saying? I remember, I'll never forget, one of my homeboys' mom was dating a brother, and he knew a little bit of information, and he gave me this analogy young. I was in my teenage years, and it always stuck with me. He said, you don't give a baby a steak to eat. They can't digest it. You just don't give them a well done steak and expect a 2-year-old baby to digest it. Now, did he make that up? I'm sure he did. But did he have wisdom enough to share it with us? Yes, he did. And I get that. Like, you know what I'm saying? These people ain't got no target practice. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? So, I mean, I'm just saying, bro, it's mad. It's a lot of things where we need to explore not just our knowledge, but our actual abilities.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think,
like, not just having knowledge of it.
But we were talking about this earlier too, that not even us. It's really for the ones behind us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the knowledge of it, but the application of it really has to be them. You know what I mean? They have to be applying this thing coming out the womb. They got to be applying it. They can't be getting it 20, 30, 40, 50, and then talking about they're going to be doing something for the nation. No, you need to get this out the womb. You need to get this 1, 2, 3, 4. Get this, all this. You know? That's when the shift is going to happen. Because again, like them, they're in it. All their children are doing all the stuff. Little children, they got little Negroes out there teaching them how to shoot guns and stuff like that. Like, that's the same as what the Europeans are doing. That ain't the same. That's not the same.
Right.
It's a totally different thing that's going on.
You get your stripes because you allegedly, in the hood, you get your stripes because you quote unquote bust your gun. That shit is ridiculous, bro. And it be all for the dumbest shit, the wrongest reason.
Yep.
The wrongest reason, bro. It's like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit. It's disappointing, you know what I'm saying? When you know what it's really for. and you know, I mean, it's crazy, bro. It's just crazy. So it's like, okay, so let's say everybody had firearms. Everybody, let's say our position is, let's just say the position is, okay, we got a right to bear arms, and everybody had a firearm. The question that I would ask then is, are they well regulated?
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to use it for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for what? What is it? What, to go terrorize other people? Well, you let me know how that turned out if everybody got firearms, number one.
Right.
And then number two, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is really the point? Like, how well regulated are you? Oh, you gonna bust at the clouds, right? You're gonna shoot your gun at the clouds, and you know, just to let people know that you got a gun. Like, I never forget the first time I heard gunshots ring out. You know what I'm saying? And it was by some young boys, bro. They was around my age group. We was in our teenage years, but they was a little younger than me. You know what I'm saying? But they was cowards, bro. All they did was they rolled past, and they wanted to just let it be known that they got a gun. So they shot 2 shots in the air. They ain't shoot at nobody. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, you know, I ain't gonna get into everything, but you know, that shit was mad whack. Like, really, you wasting resources. You know what I'm saying? You shot at the air, bro. Like, really? Come on, man. Like, this shit is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, the consequences is not beneficial. I'm gonna just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? But we be having tools and don't know how to use them. And that's not what's up. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely not what's up. So, yeah, and ain't nobody call no Europeans to none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, you think they saying something? Watch this. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's just what it is. So we need, if everybody is going to have firearms, it's not the firearms, it's the people behind.
Right.
And, you know, some people just want it to be known, oh, yeah, I got a strap. You ain't doing nothing with it, though. You ain't doing nothing with it that's beneficial for nobody. So put that shit up. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, bro. I just be thinking about everything, bro. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. So I'm just saying, you know, it's crazy out here when you think about it, but these Europeans are being taught shoot to kill. And we think busting our gun just to let it be made known that we got one is what's up. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's not. It is not. It's definitely not. You know, those 2 shots that the young brother shot could have been used to protect his family and property. But he wanted to let everybody know that he had a gun. You know what I'm saying? And it's stupid when you think about it. So we need regulation if we're going to talk about that, in my perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, right and exact.
Like,
I mean, if the you know, it's just like duality talking about, you know, waking everybody up all at once. You know what I mean? Him not doing that because, you know, more is going to lose their shit when they freaking all wake up at one time. You know, so, you know, that's that whole thing with the regulation. You know, regulating the militia so that they're exercising or they're acting on principles. You know what I mean? They got their merit badge. They're not just out here just because they could get a gun, have one. No, there's a way deeper thing that goes into it. You know? And like you're saying, it all begins with where's your mind? Where's your mind at? You know, where's your mindset at with that? You know? This is why it's important for, again, going back to this whole concept of the Boy Scouts and whatever, that the young people have these things available to them, accessible to them. You know what I mean? That they can go to some competent, well-rounded, respectable, mature Moors and go learn what they're supposed to learn as far as this the quote unquote survival aspect. You know, whatever that includes. They can't be just going to the guy on the block who's claiming something to go learn about that. It's not going to be the same. You know what I mean? Like I remember in cadets there was this one drill sergeant that nobody liked him because he was nitpick at your shit. Like you have any little thing out of place. You know what I mean? Any little thing out of place. Like they're derobing you and make you dress again. Like you have a crease where there's not supposed to be a crease after you get your inspection. You know what I mean? From the boots all the way up there doing their inspection. One little thing out the way, they're pulling your shirt out your pants and all that stuff and sending you to go do your stuff again.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So there's a certain level of discipline that comes with that you can't have anybody run that. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's no different than you know, all these years everybody looking at Jordan as an asshole. He's getting all the calls because he's the best or whatever. But reality is, man just wanted to win. He wasn't a dick because he's a dick. Like you're either gonna play on my standard so we could win, or FOH. I don't need you. You're not serving any purpose if you're not on the standard that is needed for us to do something. Just like you're saying with the thing with you know, everybody got a gun now because you have a right to bear arms. Yeah, but I mean niggas been at guns and ain't shit going on. So what, some Moors got some guns now, something's gonna happen? Not really. You know what I mean? Yeah. On the surface, it might look like something, but on the real deal, it's not like that because we haven't gotten this thing from young. This isn't ingrained in us like that. Which is why it can't be put into effect fully. You know what I mean? Because we're you know, even Moors who are 20, 30 years into this, they don't know shit. What do they know? You know what I mean? Right? That's why it's all about the ones coming up behind us. Forget us. It ain't about us. Our time is over. Just take everything we got and put it on some young people and watch them do something with it tomorrow. Just because. Because. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired too. But I guarantee they're not gonna have no knees hurting and back hurting when it's time to run and jump and all that stuff.
Right. They can still stomach a cheeseburger.
You know what I'm saying?
Be all right. You know what I'm saying? Now they need to learn how to, if not kill a cow, shit, raise your own. Goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. Straight. You know? But yeah, if you know, they ain't gotta get on a Buffalo Soldier shit to be out there scalping wild bulls and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like take that into, you know, agriculture, farm raising, you know what I'm saying? Make it more beneficial. You know what I mean? So I mean, in 1911, this was the knowledge base, you know? And right, so even like what you got on the screen right now, you can get a merit badge for automobile. We be heavy on the right to travel. We be heavy on the right to travel. But to even do that, you see what it say it takes? to get a badge. You know what I'm saying? To obtain. Hold on. Stay right where you go back to the
automobile, right?
Go back to the
automobile. Automobile.
Yeah. Automobile.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
I don't know if it's LA.
Yeah, it's probably
Okay. So but look at what you had to know to obtain a merit badge in automobiling. This is the shit we should know even in exercising our right to travel. Travel what? Okay, so to obtain a merit badge for automobiling, a scout must. Notice they didn't say driving too.
Yeah.
But to obtain a merit badge for automobiling, a scout must 1, demonstrate how to start a motor and explain what precautions should be taken. 2, take off and put on pneumatic tires. 3, know the functions of the clutch, carburetor, valves, magneto, spark plug, differential camshaft, and different speed gears, and be able to explain difference between a 2 and 4 cycle motor. Also know how to put out burning gasoline or oil. 5, have satisfactorily passed the requirements to receive a license to operate an automobile in the community in which he lives. But, whether it be license, whatever, right, to travel, I'm just saying, these are things you need to know just in case you break down on the side of the road.
Right.
While exercising your right to travel. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna go that route, just know these things. You know what I'm saying? In case AAA ain't coming for you. Know this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's just where I'm at with it, bro. It's like it's not just our knowledge at this point, it's also about our abilities. And I'm not in any way downplaying the right to travel. I'm just saying we need to take it to another level as far as what we know about traveling.
Yeah.
You feel me, bro? That's all I'm saying. I'm totally with it. I get it. Yes, we have the right to travel without a license. All of that stuff. Our ancestors invented the goddamn car. Let's be for real. Don't tell me about what our rights is to it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It was a Moorish man that invented the car. You know what I'm saying? The brother Dick Gregory told us this. You know what I'm saying? So they can't tell me nothing about what our right to travel is. You know what I'm saying? But we should have a responsibility and a notion or knowledge about how these things run. Just in case. I'm saying these are survival skills. If you catch a flat, do you know how to change your tire? Right? Because you know AAA ain't coming for you. You know that. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, shout out to Darrell Bay. Patterson Car Company. And this brother ran away from so-called Virginia to Ohio. And he probably was inspired because he said, God damn it, I'm tired of running. I'm tired of walking. I done came from goddamn Virginia to Ohio on foot, horseback, or whatever, and said, you know what? God damn it, I need a car. You know what I'm saying? Because necessity is the mother of invention. Let's be for real about it. You know what I mean? Let's be for real about it. So that's just what I be seeing. Like it's like, and I don't know if it's just because I'm unfolding more in life. I'm starting to look at it more like I know I got knowledge, but I also now have to expand on my ability.
Yeah.
And I will hope. You know what I mean? Like you feel me? You feel what I'm saying, right? Like it's like, all right, I know this, I know that, but now my abilities is where it's at.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't have abilities. It's just it's a lot of shit. I'm not disabled, but it's some shit I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
And I will be training myself to be able to do these things. Like, are you able? Again, back to the point. Are you able to point to look to the heavens right now? No phone, no app, no none of this, and name 6 constellations off of your eyesight and knowledge about your environment, as above, so below. just things like this, bro, is where my I don't know. I'm just inspired. But like if you go to page, let me see, the digital page is 79. You gotta go past where you just came from, right? If you where was we at? Astronomy before. Right. If you go back past astronomy to page 79, because that was the digital page 81.
Was that architecture?
It talks about architecture.
Architecture, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. Let's get into that a little bit, because that is unique. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right there. So architecture, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So to obtain a merit badge for architecture, now mind you, the merit badge is basically recognition of your degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you graduate from high school and you get a diploma, or college and you get a diploma. Basically, the merit badge is symbolic of that. Like, you know, you went through this certain process to be able to show and prove. So, like me, I just was learning last year. I put up my first sheetrock wall. I polished the wall with mortar. You know what I'm saying? Mortar in the trowel. And man, my whole body was aching because I never polished a wall before like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And people think it's a joke, man. But when you mix up mortar, especially if you use a backhoe to mix it up, yo, that shit uses every muscle in your body.
Yeah.
You get a tub of mortar, right? Because remind you, water is the heaviest element. So you're talking about mortar. You add water into mortar and you're trying to mix it. Like, you, with a backhoe, gotta use a backhoe or a hoe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect, sisters. No, y'all know what I'm saying. The hoes, you know what I'm saying? And you gotta use every muscle from the base of your spine, even below that, you know, because you gotta come from the legs, especially.
Yeah.
You got the water in the tub on the ground. You gotta use every muscle in your body to mix it, bro. I was sore for like 7 days straight.
Yeah.
Straight up. And it wasn't even the portion of the wall, it was the mixing of the mortar. But man, I thought I was a beast after that. I'm like, I'm on my shit right now. I know how to, I'm a build, I'm using the master masonic tool, the trowel and all that shit. And my rites of passage, I got it. But I'm just saying, as far as architecture, I like what they're doing here. So it says, to obtain a merit badge for architecture, a scout must, 1, present a satisfactory freehand drawing. A satisfactory freehand drawing. 2, write an essay on the history of architecture and describe the 5 orders. Right there, that's Masonic. Anybody who studied Masonic, you know, even the lodge initiations, you know they deal with 5 pillars.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And each of those 5 pillars are symbolic. Right? So, write an essay on the history of architecture and describe the 5 orders. You know how much that would open up a young Moor's mind if they knew the history of architecture, bro?
Straight
We're
up.
talking about the Alhambra. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're talking about the Great Pyramid.
Taj Mahal. All these
Just
places.
write an essay on the history of architecture.
Yeah.
Before you can even consider yourself to be acknowledged or recognized within this society as having a badge in architecture, you would have to have had produced literature on the history of architecture. For a young Moor, that would be a beautiful writing.
Yeah.
I would want to see what they have to say, or even me, about the history of how the Alhambra was built, on the history of how the Great Pyramids of Giza was built, and what are the 5 orders of the architecture, or the 5 pillars. You know what I'm saying? And then you would have to submit an original design for a 2-story house and tell what material is necessary for its construction, giving detailed specifications. Bro, I think that this is the type of stuff we need, bro.
Most definite. Because even thinking, yeah, even thinking back, just as you're going through this thing right now, I remembered taking drafting, and I remember the I know one of the 5 orders of architecture is Corinthian, because for my for the exam or a project or something in class, we had to do the same thing with this 2-story house, and I used the Corinthian pillars for the 2-story house, because I drew the pillar house, the house on the with the stilts. And I made the stilts out of with the Corinthian design on it. So, and that was high school. That was the 90s, and I haven't thought about that since then. This is the first time I thought about Corinthian in the 5 orders of architecture. This is the first time since then has Corinthian come in my mind.
That's right. Because backwards through the ages, masterminds can trace themselves, and thus they know.
Straight.
You know what I'm saying? So what we're doing it with the business of men is, according to the lesson, reflection. You know what I'm saying? Let's really go back and look at this. But yeah, so you got Corinthian, Ionic, Tuscan. Those are the 3 I can name off top. I know there may be some Masons on here who know all 5 by heart. You know what I mean? You know, but yeah, those are the ones I remember: Corinthian, Tuscan, and Ionic.
Oh yeah, and then there's Doric,
Ionic,
Doric and composite.
Doric and composite.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Doric and composite, right? You know what I'm saying? But I know that Ionic, all of them is Moorish,
right?
But definitely Ionic, because Ionia was a Moorish woman who had a certain form of architecture attributed to her by the sons. And I know this because I've read that book by Robert Morris, Freemasonry in the Holy Land, bro. And the parallels between what they call Amazon culture and so-called African culture are synonymous, bro. They're synonymous. It's all Moorish.
Yeah.
But Ionic comes from the princess Ionia. You know what I'm saying? And brothers was building for her type of thing. So remember, and also remember, there's a book in the Bible called Corinthians. Might want to look back at that. You know what I'm saying? These are the 5 orders of architecture. So I'm just saying that these are things that we should know. You know what I mean? Like I would love to write an essay on the history of architecture and describe the 5 orders. What? That shit would be lit. You know what I'm saying? Just off of me being a Moor, knowing and, get into the history of the Alhambra. Man, I would use Noble Drew Ali's reference in Message to America about, the great buildings that we built and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is really what we're open. I just think I'm saying this because I think we need to take our science back and be able to teach it as well. You know what I'm saying? And not just in this format, like actually, let's build, even if we got some land, I don't care, it don't gotta be a lot, just enough, whereas you can have a retreat and actually not just a retreat, but also, some proving grounds, whereas you can partake in these things and build the bed out of wood and earth, especially right now. We need institutes of learning and things of that nature, but the schools is crippled right now. They just canceled the whole school system based off of this so-called coronavirus thing.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative learning method? Is homeschooling staying in the house all day? I don't think so. I really don't think so. No, that's where you can learn English and math, maybe reading and writing in the house all day, but what about other things? What about social studies? Right? What about architecture? You think you're gonna learn that through experience just in the house? Nah. You know what I'm saying? So even with homeschooling, there has to be branches of what we're able to learn and what we're inspired to teach. You know what I mean? Because at this point, if we scrap the whole school system, I swear to God, just reading these couple of pages right here, just this right here is more advanced than everything I learned from middle school to grade school to high school. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we look at it and we be like, yeah, you know, why these Europeans think they're smarter than us or they're doing better in school than us? Because they got your curriculum, which is based off of nature, into clubs, and then they're standardizing you to learn their curriculum at a table all day. There's nothing wrong with learning how to read, learning how to write, learning how to do math, you know, sisters learning, you know, how to do confectionery and all of these things. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, if we make this the standard of learning, I believe that young Moorish men would pass with flying colors. If they can learn based off of their natural habitat, they would pass with flying colors, bro. If this is what they had to learn to get to the next grade, I believe they would pass with flying colors. There would be no such thing as special education. Like, you know what I mean? They would never be considered as unable to learn. You know what I'm saying? Because even the disabled child may be able to pass you a wood log and get an A for effort. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much. Man, it's just so much, bro. I think that right now, with the coronavirus canceling schools, if we switch the curriculum to this for young men, and there's a Girl Scouts book for young women that came from the early 1900s, and that's what we had to learn. Not only would they excel, it would be fun.
Yeah.
It would actually be fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, the thing that made school boring is it was not fun. Like, the funnest part was the social interaction with other classmates. Of course, the girls in school, you know, your homeboys, your teammates. All of that was what was the funnest part about it. You know what I mean? But I just, you know, I'm just going to get gym class. Shout out to Darrell Bay, and pardon me if I missed anybody else comments, but real talk. Like, if we made learning fun, but also, you know, an aspect of bulletproofing their survival skills, bro, like if I had to do school all over again, and this was the curriculum to get my degrees, I would have so much fun.
Oh yeah.
So much fun, bro. You know what I'm saying? You gotta learn how to swim. You gotta learn, and mind you, this is from 1911. You think Moors and Europeans was going to the same schools at that time?
They definitely will.
Like real talk. You know what I mean? And remind you, they're learning all of this from South Africans. This is how you learn to survive. Like, to me, I never understood what was the point of us learning. Like, I get what it means. Okay, MC square, all of that shit. But it was like, yo, I had to ask the teacher, like, where am I going to need to use this in life? Like, I get that I'm going to have to utilize reading, writing. I got to know mathematics and all of this. But, like, in real life, where am I going to have to use, you know, E equals MC square and all of this shit? Like, where's that going to be used at? Like, can I use that at the bank? Do I need to know that for my job? Like, what do I need to know this for? You know what I'm saying? This right here, to me, it's like you know why you need to know it. You feel me? If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. It becomes a task or an achievement, you know, because you know you're getting something from it. It's not just something being done or just moving the chair just because it's in the way, you know, like you're actually gaining something that, you know, unlike all that algebra and all that BS, I could actually use some of this stuff. You know what I mean? You know, learning how to swim is going to come in a lot more handy than some algebra, I think.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I need to know how to swim. Like, I remember in high school, you know, they had swimming classes, but I ain't trust the teachers enough to, the hell no. Hell no. It was too late at that time anyway. We damn near out of school and shit. Like, I ain't, you know what I mean? But to know why you're learning something is very important. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that, because whether you pass or fail gym, that has nothing to do with if you're going to graduate or not. You know what I mean? Like, you could fail gym and still pass high school.
Right.
What? Gym is the easiest class to pass. Who does that, right? But I'm just saying, like, you know, even back then, I was conscious, like, man, all of these people, everybody swimming this dirty-ass pool. I wasn't swimming behind you, dirty motherfuckers. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't take a bath with you. I ain't swimming in no goddamn pool with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? I ain't even touch the pool and refill the water. I'm not swimming in that shit. That's like asking me to take a bath in the water that somebody just took a bath in. You ain't drain the water. You ain't do none of that shit. So, in that aspect, that's not cleanliness, in my perspective. Never has been. But I'm saying that, yeah, learning how to swim on its own merit in some natural river water where everything is moving and flowing. You know that there's life in that water that's cleansing itself. Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not? As long as it's a lifeguard, you know what I'm saying, that know how to swim, know how to save people, why not take a shot for it? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, bro. And I'm thinking about all of this because it's like, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? If we had to get back to that ancient state of mind of our foremothers and forefathers, well, these are things that they knew, you know what I mean, kind of early.
Yeah.
And I'm not leaving nothing out, you know. So I don't know, man. I just feel like this learning tool right here was definitely excelling.
Yeah.
This is definitely excelling, and maybe we should probably get into this a lot more. Okay. Yeah. So I was just checking the chat. I didn't see anybody with their hand up, so I didn't check the chat the whole time. But you know.
Well, what about the line?
So
anybody on the line?
I mean, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, let me put this in the chat. You know how it is, man. They switch the calling number, so some people may not know. Yeah. If you want to put that in the chat, or I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat at the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Just in case. Yeah. The new calling number, because they change it. It's like they change it every 2 years or so. But you know, this is I believe this is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we should have, you know, regardless of what's going on, because this type of knowledge might just be what gets you through it. You know what I mean? It might just be this type of knowledge dealing with nature. You know? Yeah. So, and we was talking about shooters. If you go up one page to 78, the digital page is 78, it talks about archery, right? So remind you, it's ancient. It's an ancient arm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's old but gold. That's what they always say. Any shooter tell you when it comes to a bow and arrow, they say it's old but it's gold. So it says to obtain a merit badge for archery, a scout must 1. Make a bow and arrow, which will shoot a distance of 100 feet with fair precision. So you couldn't even translate that today. You wouldn't even be able to be considered a shooter unless you made your arm or your weapon or your firearm or your bow. You're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So you get no merits on that ground. Like anybody can pull the trigger, but can you make a bow? Can you make a firearm? Can you know what I mean?
Right.
Will it shoot efficiently for at least 100 feet with fair precision? You know what I mean? And then 2, they must make a total score of 350 with 60 shots in 1 or 2 meets using standard 4-foot target at 40 yards or 3-foot target at 30 yards. And in there, you can see the science of the 44 and the 33. That's another lesson, but still, this is what you would have to be able to do. You know what I mean? And then 3, for your merit badge in archery, you have to make a total score of 300 with 72 arrows using standard target at a distance of 50 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of so-called shooters who can't hit their target in 50 yards with a firearm, let alone
bow and arrow.
Bro. They had to make themselves. You know what I'm saying? That they had to make themselves. Real shit. You ain't no shooter until you done made your arm yourself. In my perspective, y'all can say I'm reaching or whatever, but, you know, this is, if we going back to that ancient state of mind of our foremothers and forefathers, that's something to consider and look at. So, and then 4, for your merit badge, you have to shoot so far and fast as to have 6 arrows in the air at once. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty deep when you're talking about archery. Not the firearm, just archery. Can you shoot so far and fast with a single shot bow? You know what I'm saying? Where you can actually have 6 of them in the air at once. That's when you know you really are doing your thing if you want to be considered a shooter for the tough guys. You know what I'm saying? You know, somebody said that was a big reach. You know, I said shoot 3 at a time, or. But I mean, you know, of course you ain't going to be able to do that on your first time. But you know, if you train him, it will eventually become, you know, something you can do for the right causes anyway. So yeah, more, you know, I'm just saying. That's just what it is. So yeah, man, that being the case, bro, we could get into some other things, or, you know, before the live feed, I know we got it going on Canaanland YouTube channel at the same time, which is great, but the internet live feed for MHHS Blog Talk Radio is about to go down in about 12 minutes. Anybody wants to call in, the call-in number, the new call-in number is 563-999-3403. Again, that's 563-999-3403. You could press 1, ask your question, give your add-on, or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? If not, in the meantime, Pujo, I'm going to yield the floor to you real quick, bro.
Islam.
Islam more, partner.
So we'll just do a check. Check in on what else is up in here.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, bet. So we got a caller from the 808 area. We got a caller from the 808 area. You want to add on anything, or you want me to go ahead and just open the line?
Oh yeah, we can open the line. If anybody else has call, just push 1, or if you got a question, you could throw that in the chat, and we'll get to answering some of those.
Put it in the chat. All right, good. So cool. So, all right, we'll call it 808-269. You live on the air. Peace, man. You with us?
Yes, sir. Peace, Brother Vince. Peace, G.S. Cujo. Peace and love. Wonderful, wonderful topic tonight. I just wanted to add a little add-on. I mean, we're talking about true education, defining that as the knowledge of the foremothers and forefathers. I mean, you guys just hitting on so much stuff, rites of passage, accessing privileges versus knowing how to use privileges. We can access privileges like guns, but do we even know how to use the privileges? I mean, even in modern society today, our rites of passages, with gangs and different things, the rites of passages leading people to death instead of having rites of passage that leads to people knowing how to survive and more knowing how to bring life that be self-dependent. So it's like we'd be better off switching the rites of passage of death and adopting these rites of passage that teach us how to live. I mean, even when you folks talking about special education issues, and you got Moors in school that are considered special education, if we had true education, I mean, it's just so relevant. I want to just add on that tonight. I appreciate G.S. Cujo and Miz for this discussion. It's so relevant. So Islam.
Peace and love, more Islam.
Yeah, peace and love, more Islam. I yield the floor. I just wanted to give my respects and honors on that. Thank you, sir.
Peace. Yeah, and I mean that's the reality, that this is learning for life, and like we said, there's so much different levels that we can use to get the younger generations in a better place. Always remember the areas that when you look at what it is that we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to set things up so that the younger generations are able to make it through. We realize we haven't been doing our stuff, because if we're coming out talking about we can't answer certain stuff right now, that's a problem. That's a very serious problem. So it starts with people who are on the level, people who are in that place that can put things in place for us, to either be in the position to train the ones later on, or doing it ourselves so that we can try to find some type of avenues where we can apply what's learned and there be an outcome. Like we always have the 9 battlefronts that Francis Cress Welsing always talked about, right? That once we get ourselves in these realms, then we'll be able to have an impact against the global system that's trying to, subdue us, right? Is sex, war, economics, sex, war, economics, education, labor, law, entertainment, and something else. But 9 battlefronts, right? The survival stuff falls under the war section, right? That letting this thing be out the womb knowledge. This is information that we're gonna take, we're gonna study, we're gonna get with others who might be, you know, adept at this. You know, the when we're looking at the little booklet, the manual, that might be their way of how it should be done. There might be Moors who been through that, and they say, "Oh man, they wasted about 300 pages in this thing," because there's stuff in there that is absolutely irrelevant and has nothing to do with anything as far as survival is concerned. That's just some European brainwash or whatever, you know. But you know, the application of it has to be done through the generations that are moving forward. You know what I mean? And again, like, the present time that we're living in is perfect, opportune time to take advantage of the ability to pass this information on. Because at this point, everybody's open to hear something because they don't got anything better else to do. You know? Right on the floor.
The problem is with things, families, parents are at home with their children. How are we using this time?
Right.
Are we conducting astrology lessons with our children? Are we teaching them reading and writing?
Mm-hmm.
Are we teaching them history? We have all this time in the world. How are we spending that money? How are we using this resource right now? It's so key. It's such a crux time to go ahead and address everything that you folks are talking about tonight. So it's so on time. So right on time, man. It's on. Nah, indeed, brother. We definitely appreciate you talking in. Oh, go ahead. My fault. Worldwide. Aloha.
Islam. Peace and love, more.
Islam.
Thanks for calling in.
Indeed. Word, bro. I think, I think, bro, we need to break down. We need to just get a series going and just get all the way into this right here, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we really should, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people speaking about survival skills and all of this stuff. But if this isn't the be-all, end-all, I think this is a great start, bro, on surviving, not just having knowledge, but also inspiring ourselves to have ability. You know what I mean? I really think this is a great tool, at least for that purpose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, we're going to take the next caller, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and calling in. Well, caller 682-360, you live on the air. Peace, fam. With us? I am. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Alaikum assalam, man. Yeah, man, this is a good topic, man. This is real good. This is what the people need, you know what I'm saying? Because we really need survival techniques. You gotta get that root chakra. You gotta get that open and finely tuned before you can elevate to the next chakras. So that root and that survival would be the start, man. That's so good, man, for real. What book or what did you say this come out of? I was working earlier, I couldn't really hear.
Yeah, this is the Boy Scout manual from 1911, bro. The year 1911. Remind you.
Okay.
Yeah, remind you. This is 2 years before Noble Duality established the old Canaanite temple in Newark, New Jersey. But the knowledge is ancient. And keep in mind, it came up with this from studying South Africans, bro. You know what I mean? So we're not speaking on it from necessarily a European perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at it from a perspective of, oh, this is the knowledge that they was keeping from us. Because all the brothers I know, if we learning this in school, we would have passed with flying colors, bro. Like real talk.
Yeah.
We would pass with flying colors.
We can
I just think that.
No, go ahead, bro.
No. Speak your piece, bro. I just wanted to let you know that that's what it is. It's a it's a survival book, or at least it will inspire you, like Brother Cujo was saying earlier. You know, for us Moors who studied on RB Bay, it's kind of reminiscent of the 1895 8th grade test, where we look at it and say, damn, that's what they was learning in 8th grade. I don't know that today. You know what I'm saying? And take it, to kind of like take it to that time frame. You know, it's like looking at that knowledge now. It's still things that we need to know. You know, whether it's the be all end all or not, these are things that we should know. You know what I'm saying? Or at least have the knowledge of how to get your rites of passage going. You know what I'm saying? And organize your knowledge.
I think I'm gonna take that table of contents on the contents and the subtitles or whatever, and I'm gonna try to see if I can research each topic. Like the 5 pillars and stuff like that. And then we could have that as a base. So I'm gonna teach my son and my daughter, and have that as a baseline, so I have a guideline to follow. Okay, they need to study architecture. Okay, they need to, learn how to start a fire. Or they need to learn. I still kind of change when I change my oil and stuff. I tell my son, come out there and watch me and stuff like that. Change my oil on my lawnmower and stuff and fix on the lawnmower. You watching. But in survival techniques are good to know. There's a case to get caught out in the woods somewhere. Like I tell my son, you don't watch YouTube all day. Why not watch something that's going to teach you how to start a fire?
Right.
Watch something that's going to teach you something when you get out there in the wilderness. You can use. I can't use no YouTube Fortnite dance out there. That's not going to help me. Right? You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that we need to be expressing, and these are the things that we need to be talking about, man, because these are the things that plant those seeds in people's minds and get people to go research these things, and then teach to their children. And next thing you know, you got a generation that's not lacking. This generation after my generation, boy, and we was bad. I ain't gonna lie. I look at it as bad, but I see it get worse, and we have a responsibility. We got a responsibility to get it to these youngsters, because if we don't, boy, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's good information, bro. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing and spreading this information. Last topic we were talking about gardening and resources of that nature. You know, every week, man. I mean, every month, man. Y'all keep coming with it, bringing us, facts that we can use. Appreciate that, man. Of course, alhamdulillah, and honors to Nova Drali for bringing this back to us, and honors to y'all for keeping it going, man.
Islam.
That's my piece on it, brother.
Islam. Well, for anybody who's Yeah, for anybody who's trying the number, you're not gonna be able to get in right now because it's over. So you
Exactly.
gotta
Yeah,
get it. You gotta get it from here.
Yeah, I was just typing that in the chat.
Yeah.
To the sunlight day, because like, nah, that's the number. But what happens is, after 2 hours, if you haven't called in, you just can't get in. You know what I mean? You have to go back on the archives and listen to the last hour. So yeah, pardon. At this point, if you didn't call in, you can't. But you can pose any questions you like in the chat, for sure. You know what I mean? And for those who have already been listening via the MHHS guest call-in, the new guest call-in number, you can still press 1 and add on. And if you're listening via Canaanland Moore's YouTube page, you can post your question or add on in the chat. So that's peace. You know what I'm saying? That being said, I'd like to thank the brother that just called in as well. And we're going to go to the next caller. All right? So, yeah, for sure. All right, so caller 601-383, you're live on the air. Please stand with us. Hey, Christian, Richard Bay, calling from the President of Civic. I've been enjoying your conversation tonight, but very about what you was talking about, that is still a continuation right now today. It's like when I first started driving trucks, we had younger white guys already know how to drive trucks, already know how to drive a tractor. I mean, that right there is just a continuation of what you've been talking about. I mean, it seems like we are just always behind, trying to learn this or trying to learn that.
Yeah.
That's right. And another thing, I heard Brother Cujo say, it's best to leave it up to the younger generation, but I don't agree with that. I think we always have something to give, no matter how old we are. We always have something to show or to tell, or even just lead by example. I mean, we just shouldn't just leave it, for the next generation. I mean, we all are all connected, no matter how young or how old we are. So we all should be working together, hand by hand. Because somebody has to lead the younger generation. They ain't gonna know unless people like me, yourself, and Brother Cujo, set an example. I commend you brothers, and y'all showing a prime example of what y'all doing right now, setting a prime example, man. By spreading the message, spreading truth, spreading love. I mean, spreading truth about how we just need to just get things right amongst each other. So with that, that's all I had to say, man. But like I said, y'all, I've only called in about 3 times, and like I said, each time I call in, man, y'all have some powerful, topics, and I'm gonna continue on calling in. And like I say, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all be blessed. Sorry about that. Peace and love.
Peace, brother. Give thanks.
No. Yeah, peace, good brother. We appreciate you likewise, man. We appreciate you taking out the time to call in. No doubt about it. And that's the thing, man. Like I feel like if we teach these survival skills opposed to, because some people say, what you talking about, Boy Scouts? These are natural survival skills.
Yeah.
We're building on.
Yeah.
I think a lot more honor in it to be able to teach these type of survival skills opposed to saying, here goes a pack of crack and you survive off of $10 a bag. Like for me, I think this information is more productive. This is what we actually need. If we was learning this in our teenage years instead of, how many grams is in a dime bag of weed and all of this craziness. And I ain't even going to shun that like that's crazy because that's natural too, but that's another topic. I'm just saying, I feel like these are the survival skills. Like, what you going to do? Sell something, go get some food? How about you just learn how to go get some food? How about you just learn how to build? How about you stack enough money to get you some land or whatever it is you're going to do to acquire some land and survive off of it? I just think the curriculums amongst many societies, whether that be in the hood, because think about it. I mean, for me, growing up on the East Coast, a lot of the hoods I know is right by the water. It's right by the water, and brothers have never been taught how to fish. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Looking at it, in retrospect, like, we was right by water the whole time, and like more than 50% of us was never given a fishing rod or taught how to set a crab trap to eat. That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? And we be talking about, I'm doing this to put food on the table. Like, how about you just learn how to you're going to go buy the same crab that they went to the water to catch. How about you just learn how to catch it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how about that? On some real talk.
Very good.
I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, bro. I just be looking at it like, this is definitely something we need to be in tune with.
Yeah.
And shout out to T. Hargrave. You know what I'm saying? Because it's true. A lot of these young boys was on it 5 to 10.
Yeah.
When the last time you seen the Europeans trying to sell you some crack or some weed on the block? What did they know about how to survive? That they ain't have to do that shit on the block. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. It's something that they know that we don't know. Only difference is the knowledge base, bro. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's survival. Everything boils down to survival.
Yeah.
Shit, like, even if you got it all right now, you know what I'm saying, and you found yourself ending up with nothing, what would you do with the resources around you? Do you know how to make a bed out of wood and earth?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You see people, even homeless people who had it all, they sleeping on concrete, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they knew these survival skills, would their life be better than sleeping in the midst of the city on concrete? Would they be better off just going to the woods and surviving based off of these survival skills? Which one would actually be better? I don't know. These are the things I think about, bro. Like, there's nothing wrong with knowing natural survival skills.
Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with knowing.
There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Because even when we're talking about architecture and building and things like that, where does that come from? If you need mortar to build, do you know where mortar comes from? Anybody who's actually an operative mason, I'm not talking lodge initiated. If you was ever really building with them and they needed to use mortar, they always refer to it as mud. Why? Why are they referring to mortar as mud? Because it's elements of the earth. Sand, dirt, you know what I'm saying? That you mix the other element of water, because remember, we're talking about elements, right? So you can take sand, lime, and other types of earth, mix it with water, watch it dry, and this is your material to build with.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally. I'm just saying, we need to get back to it. That's how I feel about it. And that's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with knowing. You know what I mean?
Islam.
It ain't even about necessarily, I'm a part of this society. It's about, do you have survival skills? That's it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say. And the knowledge that, I do have access to, I think it'd be more beneficial to others than just myself. You know what I mean? And we need to take it there. Another thing that I appreciate about this, I even had done this in my younger days, was, one of the I guess we could refer to it in essence as a rites of passage, really. But one of the rites of passage is you got to take a 7-mile walk, either by yourself or with another person of your society, and not just take the walk, but actually do a writing about what your experience was. Hence, you got Moors today. Shout out to you, Cujo, who will, if it's not through a walk, it'll just be through what they actually observe in life daily. You know what I'm saying? I remember maybe it was like 2015, 2016. I took a walk down the bike path. I walked 7 miles. I had no knowledge about this Boy Scout thing. You know what I'm saying? But my spirit told me, just take a walk through this natural environment. 3.5 miles one way and 3.5 miles back. That was my 7-mile walk. Real talk. And I seen, you know, all types of berries and herbs growing in the wild that I never seen, you know, growing up in compacted environments where, you know, you don't even have basically 150 feet between you and the next house. So what you're going to observe is that a lot of houses, you know what I'm saying? So to me, it was like to take a walk through that environment and see certain berries and realize, nah, they're not meant to eat, and study up on those, right? And like certain berries grow in nature, they're meant for birds, but they got medicinal purposes for humans, but they have to go through a chemistry process first, meaning that the same berries that they say will be poisonous to you if you boil them in water and things like that. You know, they're actually medicine, but they just got to go through the process first. So it's a lot to learn just off of taking a 7-mile walk. It ain't nothing about, you know, even if you drive, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Or you navigate a conveyance, it's all good. But sometimes it's still good, not just to take that walk, but take that walk and observe, and like really observe. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that I think, you know, like you said earlier, bro, it's about, in essence, it's like a rites of passage. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is another thing. I see you was on England. If you scroll back down to go past the architecture piece to art, where it speaks about getting a merit badge for art. If you're still there, you know what I mean? Yeah, if you go down to art, it's something interesting to be found in that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's definitely something interesting to be found in that too. I don't know if you got it yet, but
I'm there.
Just go ahead and read this.
Yeah, I'm there. Go ahead,
okay,
man.
good. Okay. So it says, to obtain a merit badge for art, a scout must 1, draw in outline 2 simple objects, one composed of straight lines and one of curved lines. 2 subjects to be grouped together a little below the eye. Draw in outline 2 books, a little below the eye, 1 book to be open, also a table or chair, right? Number 3 is what got me. It says, make an outline in Egyptian ornament. You can't even talk about art amongst this society, so-called Boy Scout. You can't even talk about being an artist or claim that you're an artist until you make an outline of an Egyptian ornament. Why is that? Why is that? Because these are the best artists on the planet. These were Moors. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to get into a culture of claiming to be an artist, everybody knows that you got to look at the so-called Egyptians, man. Hieroglyphs on the wall, all of this, what you think they was? They were artists, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to even get into that field, whether this be Europeans or whoever, they had to pay homage to who was actually, you know, the originators of that particular craft. So they're telling them, if you want a merit badge for art, they can outline an Egyptian ornament, like, because you gotta pay homage. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a reason for this stuff.
But then also when it goes to 4, to make an outline a Greek or Renaissance ornament. And you already know when it's talking Renaissance, they're talking about Moors too. And this is a prerequisite. Yeah, this is a prerequisite.
And when they talking about Greeks, they talking about Moors.
Yep, it's a prerequisite.
Whenever they talking about Greeks, they are talking about Moors, bro. And if you study the Greek alphabet, it's obvious. First off, the book Freemasonry and the Holy Land teaches you that, you know, all 22 letters of the Greek alphabet originally was brought into Greece by the Moabite, whose name was Cadmus, Cadmus, brought all 22 letters of the Greek alphabet into Greece at that time. So you look at that, and you know the Greek alphabet. That's why they'll tell you, oh, well, this Greek letter was derived from Phoenician. But the Phoenicians, the Moabites, Canaanites, all of these are the same people. You know what I mean? These are the very relative people. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have to pay homage to who was the originators of this particular craft in that respect. Right. So to make an outline of Greek or Renaissance ornament from a caster copy, all of that is Moorish. The Greek, and even you see semblance of it today still with the so-called Greek fraternity societies, you know, Alpha, Sigma, Kappa, all of that shit is, you know, in a sense, in these colleges and all of that, they're somewhat closer to Moabite culture than they think. Like, they really are. A little bit closer than what people may think. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gets crazy because they say, oh yeah, that's the Greek letter fraternity, but really these Moors are Moabites that you see going to so-called historically black colleges. You know what I'm saying? The reason they gravitate to that is because it's actually in their DNA. The Moabite, because remember, they're not really Negroes, they're not really black or colored people. You know what I'm saying? And that whole Greek letter thing is in their DNA because their ancestors brought it to Greece, bro. Like, it's a truth and a falsehood strangely mixed, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's strangely mixed, bro. So, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, how much of our culture is right in our face, but we see it and don't even realize it's ours. It's like masonry. How many people talk about masonry and be like, oh, that's devil worship. They're the evil. They're Illuminati. They're all of this shit and don't know what they're saying. They don't know that Illuminati means enlightened ones. You know what I'm saying? They don't know that. So they speak of something ill when it's like, nah, that's what they're supposed to be. You should be illuminated. You should be enlightened. Right. You know what I'm saying? I don't suggest anybody join any society. I'm just making an observation that, yeah, I see what's really happening. These brothers and sisters who are going to these colleges, right? They're attracted to this shit because it's in their DNA. Whether they know that or not, it's subconscious. It's like, it's something about being an alpha. Word is kind. It's something about that resonates with them. If they got all the history or not, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it's something in there that is still, regardless of what their name may be, is resonating on a whole different type of level. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say that, you know, we got to understand, you know, why we get attracted to certain things. Whether, you know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. You know, but yeah, shout out, you know, it's definitely not the hijack version. And shout out to everybody in the chat. But that's the real talk, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So they're getting attracted to these things and they don't realize it's hard. It's like even what we're talking about with this handbook of Boy Scouts, it's like when I first was reading it, I'm like, okay, and then I looked at the preface of the Girl Scout drinks, and it was even more revealing because they're saying they got it from South Africans, Zulus. Again, shout out to Zulu Kemetic Moors. You know what I'm saying? These Europeans ain't make this up. You feel me? They got the culture from Moors all over the planet. Real talk. So I'm just saying, it's ways that you will find yourself involved with things that was your culture anyway. And because we lacked it, we look at it as if it's something foreign, and it's really not. It's just really not. You know what I mean? So I don't know, bro. These was revelations, and I'm like, man, like I didn't know. Like, yo, our culture, knowledge, wisdom, understanding of life has been, you know, adopted by many parts of society that we were not privy to. I'm gonna just put it like that. We weren't a part of that in that sense, but their whole makeup and foundation was based off of our culture, and right, wrong, or indifferent, that is the truth. You know? So yeah, more that's basically where I'm at with it. Oh, another thing is what I appreciate about it, and you gotta pardon me, I can't find the exact page right now, but I remember it was something about you know, I think it might have been camping, and it was talking about how to get a badge or a merit badge for that, you would have to spend 50 nights outdoors. 50 nights outdoors. Whether you did it as 50 nights in a row, that's a different story. But altogether, throughout your life, spending 50 nights outside and surviving with your campfires and utilizing all your skills, knowledge, and abilities to survive those types of nights. You know what I'm saying? Because remind you, everybody talk about how they love Jesus and all of this. He spent 40 outside. You know what I'm saying? Can we do 50? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we do 50? I'm just saying. And not even all in a row, but can you do 50 nights? You know what I'm saying? Outside and get your badge for, you know, camping, or call yourself a survivor. If you know you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, bro. It's
yeah. Well, it's the same. It's the same thing. Like, it's the same thing that once you, the whole point of going through the 50 nights is that's your training.
yes.
By the 50th night, you should be straight. You should not even want to go back inside after the 50th night. Why go back inside if I can live out here? Why go back? Why go back to inside if I did 50 nights outside, right? Which again goes back to that whole thing of it's really a rites of passage. It's not some boys club and girls club, whatever. It's rites of passage for Europeans,
right?
So they can get their shit together through their younger generations and rule the world, or appear to rule the world, or whatever. You know, basic knowledge.
Right.
You know, Boy Scouts is their basic training. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like
and as
I was gonna say that it's just like in just like in kindergarten.
My fault, bro.
Oh, it's all good. No, I was just gonna say it's just like in kindergarten where you get lunch break because they're training you for work. So it's the exact same thing. It's training. You know what I mean? They're training you survival, outdoor skills. But our people never go.
Right.
Like, I only went because it was mandatory. You go. Like, you can't be a boy and not be in Boy Scouts and not have gone through it ever. Like, it just doesn't it doesn't go like that. You have to be part of it. You can't not be part of it. You have to be part of cadets. You know what I mean? You're going to be looked at funny if you didn't go to cadets. You're not a real man if you didn't go to your Boy Scouts. You're not a real boy. Let me see you make a slingshot or some shit. You can't make a slingshot? You're not a real boy. What do you mean? You know what I'm saying? You know?
Facts. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And this is what it is. So it's like, this is the knowledge, especially for, and you know what? I feel like, you know, those of us who may have access to some land, even if you don't have the biggest acreage or anything like that, like it's almost like up to us to make sure that the youth, or at least the youth that you love, you know, gets exposed to this, man. Like get exposed to it, because the concrete jungle is normal. Like, what you talking about, sleep in the woods? Man, the store is open 24 hours right here. I could get everything I want with $1 from the store. And they have no, it just, it's no appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So to be like, oh, you want water? It's a stream right over there. Go get water. You ain't got to give nobody $1. Just go get some water. Get you your bucket, get you your bottle, or whatever it is, and go right to the stream and get water.
Yeah.
What's so hard about that? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Oh, y'all want to have whatever, right over there. It's a section, nobody gonna bother y'all. Bang. You know what I'm saying? It's environment for everything. So it's, man, like it's I don't know, bro. I just feel like we should have been taught this. I feel like, you know, if we're gonna have more institutions and they're trying to recruit youth, that this should be a part of the curriculum. Like, yeah, we need to know about the lessons and all of that about Yeshua, because we could tie his lessons right into all of this.
Yep.
We can. What about his quarantine for 40 days in the wilderness? In the wilderness, where he had to deal with himself for 40 days and 40 nights. You think he didn't have no survival skills? He was sitting there like he was food? I don't think that was the case. That's a true story. I don't think that's the case. He doesn't have some survival skills. So I feel like, you know, at this point in time, if Morris is appealing to teach the youth, then give them, like, they should have this knowledge. It should be a part of the curriculum. You know what I'm saying? It ain't all about cartoons and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And Sesame Street and all of this shit. Like, you know, teach them. Get them active. If that's what you saying your niche is. Oh, I specialize in teaching the youth. What are you teaching them? What are you teaching them? You know what I'm saying? And don't sleep like they stupid either. Because they're smarter than what you think. So they can learn some shit even if they don't. If it don't stick with them right then and there, it's going to be a point in their life where they be like, oh my gosh, this is why I was exposed to that, you know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, because remember, I can't emphasize this enough. This Boy Scout thing and the knowledge of survival skills, especially in these times, right, where industries are collapsing. Don't get souped up and hyped because, you know, y'all think they opening states back up. This ain't them reopening nothing. This is them doing a guinea pig operation. You know what I'm saying? Like, even out in the Jersey area, they're opening up the beaches for Memorial Day weekend. When they was asked why, after being criticized, they said because it's our economy. Think about that. They ain't care nothing about the people, whether this thing is real, fake, whatever. They're opening back up because they're hurting. They're losing millions. They're not opening back up because everything is all good. and it's not even a full reopen, it's a partial reopen, meaning that the beaches and things of that nature is the testing ground. So you got the governor of Pennsylvania now coming at the governor of New Jersey, like, how stupid are you to open up the beach in the midst of a so-called pandemic? I'm not going to be a part of that guinea pig operation. I don't want to be nowhere near a large crowd. At this point, we'll see what they say 14 days from then. You know what I'm saying? If cases rise, and then it's crazy because cases are rising, and it's still like, so what? So what? We're trying to save our economy. That's their position. So if it hasn't been more clear that they really don't care about your health, they care more so about their bottom dollar, right? It's about their business and economy first and foremost for them. That's what they came here for.
Which they've always
right?
cared
They
about.
have survival skills.
Which they've always cared about.
They always cared about.
They've always been on their kill anybody in the way of us being somebody. So that's straight up.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it's at. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying they said it. They said that this was a trial run. They said it. It's not more clear. It's never been more clear that this is a guinea pig operation. You know what I'm saying? I believe that we could survive whatever it is, but still, I don't want that. I don't care if it's a common cold or not. I'm just not trying to be sick, bro.
Straight up.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't care what it is. As soon as I feel a little something coming, I'm taking something. You're not getting me, yo. Forget all that shit.
Yeah, like even if it was just to get you with a runny nose, I don't like none of that shit, bro. Like
none of that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Especially now.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially this time of year. This is not the time to. This is not the time to be under no covers talking about sick with something. Nah, not this time of year. I had all winter for that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, more yeah, you know what I mean? Shout out to Optimistic Living. Yeah, ginger shots is where it's at. No doubt. No doubt about it. Something I was working with was ginger, lemon pills, cinnamon, green tea. You boil all of that. Let all of those products sit in a pot of fresh water, not tap water, but maybe some purified water. Boil that or whatnot, and once you let all of those things, flavor into or marinate into the water, you pour that into the tea, put some honey in it, you'll be all right.
Right.
Because remember, there's remedies. Yeah. Honey has always been something to get rid of coughs. Honey, vinegar has done the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So, I hear a lot more people coughing today than ever before. But this thing is real, it's not deadly, whatever. I'm just saying, when I step out, I do be hearing people cough, and I don't know if it's just me being extra like, oh shit, they probably got that COVID thing, you know what I'm saying? But it's like I hear it more often than ever, and I'm like, damn, maybe it's something out there. But I know that it ain't nothing that's going to take everybody out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, more basically, for tonight, I can leave it there. I'll yield the floor to you. Hold on, let me check and see if we got any more callers.
Yeah, if there's no callers, we could yield right there. You're straight.
Yeah. Yeah, facts. Yeah. So yeah, more. I gotta say I appreciate this one. We could come back and visit this again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's revisit this.
For sure.
With some more extensive study into it in comparison and and all of these things, and get our survival knowledge up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Survival knowledge is more than you got a firearm in your waistband and a pack of crack to sell. That's not where it's at for the youth. You know what I'm saying? We need to know a little bit more than that. So I'm there with it, bro.
Straight up.
I say peace and love to all the Moors that tuned in. Acknowledgement to Canaanland Moors. Big acknowledgement to my mom. Hold up. I don't know. I think caller 682 want to say something else. Let me see. Please caller 682-360. Live on the air. Did you want to add something else on?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing. When you said something that caught my attention, but Noble Ali did say get a good education in the 7 liberal arts, or do something to that nature. He said research the 7 liberal arts. And as I think about what the topic was, the content of what you read, they kind of fall into that bracket also. So that would be a good way to start with the youth and getting them trained in the 7 liberal arts also. But that's what I want to add. I ain't want to say much. I appreciate you, though.
It's a lot more.
Yeah. It's mine. Peace, that's peace. All right. That's what's up. Yeah, and he's absolutely correct, because remember, astronomy is one of the 7 liberal arts. You know what I mean? So to get into that is like what we was talking about earlier, bro, about having the knowledge of how to point out 6 constellations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All of it is relative. It's still dealing with the science of the 7, bro. It absolutely is. It's dealing with the science of the 7. And I just feel like, why not take the knowledge and expand it a little bit more?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No pun intended, but we need to do that.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Real.
Give the youth a chance to come up knowing, how to set traps, how to feed themselves off of food off the land and things like that. Because like I said, on the East Coast, a lot of these neighborhoods where Moors are heavy at is right by water or not too far from water. Mm-hmm. And, nobody owns a fishing pole. Nobody owns a crab trap. You know what I'm saying? But they talk about, I'm trapping. This is what they're saying these days. I'm in the hood trapping. And when they say that, they're talking about selling, and I'm not knocking them, but they're talking about selling weed, coke, dope, pills, and all of this. And they call themselves traps and have no knowledge of original trapping, i.e. hunting.
Right.
They have no knowledge about that, bro.
But they're trapping, though.
They're being hunted and think that, they're trapping. That's crazy. That's crazy. They're being hunted but have no knowledge of hunting or trapping.
But then at the same time, everything that's going on against them is a trap, and they're not calling that trapping.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, how about this? I'm gonna leave it on this note. The latest outrage of one of our brothers being killed, the brother Ahmad Arbery, or Avery, pardon me if I didn't say that right. The dude that recorded it just got charged with murder, bro. Yeah. He didn't do the murdering, but because he was recording it, at first they said he was a witness, right? Because he recorded this footage. And then today they just charged him with the murder. How crazy is that, bro? I don't know his involvement, but they're now charging him with murder, and he was the one who was recording it.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was affiliate. I think he was an affiliate of the two other ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like he
well,
got,
you know.
Yeah, he got called. He got called when they were chasing him down or whatever like that because they thought he stole some shit.
Oh, okay. That's what that was.
Yeah,
all right.
So I guess that's why they pulled him in with it too, because he was there. You know what I mean? He wasn't trying to stop some shit. He was watching. No different. No different
so
than,
he was basically in on it.
Yeah.
So they probably should have charged him with conspiracy to commit murder.
Yeah.
But if he didn't actually do it,
right.
I don't know what that's going to turn out like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or it could be, or like you're saying, it's guinea pig world right now. They're just the guinea pig for when all these Negroes who like to tape freaking shit and not do nothing. That's their charges they're about to start getting. Or you're just gonna stand there. You're just gonna stand there and film stuff. All right, we got some charges for you now. We could use these guys' case as precedent. That the filmer guy, filmer guy is going down too with everybody else who was there, because he's sitting down there doing nothing while you're filming something. The guy drowning and you're filming instead of saving him. Yeah, you should get charged with murder. What you talking about?
Yeah.
Or somebody bleeding out and you're filming the wound and stuff like that. You want to get views. You're filming somebody got shot in the head. And you just stood there.
Like how recording at that exact moment. Yeah. What was up with you? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, bro.
It's messed up.
That's crazy. Yeah, with that being said, peace and love to the Moors.
Peace and love, Moors.
In the chat. The Moors that is going to go back and listen to this and actually understand where we're coming from with this. It's not a slight. I just think that some of these things need to be
considered,
considered or reconsidered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if we can break this down and master some of these things, also to give it back, give the knowledge back. You know what I'm saying? Because think about how many elders put in the hard work before we was even born, and they tired of dealing with shit. Like they're like, man, I ain't lived in the brick. I done built my whole house out of
it. Oh shit. Whoa. What happened there? They just cut us off like that? That's crazy. Islam to all the Moors. Peace and love. We'll build soon once again. Islam, Moors.